Ow. What's up, everyone? Punchy back with Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 3 to Higurashi. I'm back, but I'm in a different environment right now, since I'm not at home. I brought my whole computer with me, but fortunately I didn't bring everything. I've got my little travel stand for my mic. You might hear bumps and stuff in the audio, which I hope I can fix. I've got my really crappy travel headphones attached to my monitor so I can hear. It's not the best setup, but we'll see. And we're actually in a pretty exciting time for Punchy. He just finished digging his hole, and now we're gonna see if he can actually get Satoko's uncle into the hole. The cicadas made an annoying fuss. Their chorus covered up the suspicious noise of me breaking twigs underfoot, and their chorus filled the path far ahead of me, letting me know I would be alone for some time. The cicadas blessed the path I walked, encouraging me with every last ounce of strength they had. Also, you guys might just hear me speaking not as loud, which I should be able to fix with the recording, because I'm not completely comfortable yet. The sky was far above. In not even an hour, the veil of night would draw near, and the sky would be tinted with dusk. By that time, the Higurashi would let me hear their chorus in place of the cicadas. Oh, so they're different. I remember you guys talked about it, how they're two different kinds. But in story now, they're verifying that they're actually two different species. When that happened, would everything be over with? Would everything have ended? I said something along those lines when I left Satoko's fate up to a public agency. But this time was different. I would do it. I would carry it out. I would end it. It would be all over very soon. That was a nice cut right there. Everything would end. Yes.
When the Higurashi cried.
I'm gonna try and edit. It sounded because it seemed a little more evil, especially with the little jump cut and the time passing. This is so nice. I'm not used to a sequence like that in Higurashi, but I liked it. Punchy's, I feel like he's cursed for him, right? We kind of established that with the eyes thing. There was nobody at school. I couldn't hear the playful voices of children. This was the first time I'd seen school with such a lack of human presence. Still, I quieted my breath and looked around, not wanting to be unprepared. It had gotten darker outside, but it was almost like my eyes could see more clearly now. I made absolutely sure of my safety, then walked to the heavy construction machine I'd hidden the metal bat behind. I had a tinge of worry, a premonition, that someone had found the bat and hid it somewhere else as a prank. If that happened, would I take that as an opportunity to desist? If it really wasn't there, then the sensation of chilled metal. It was still here where I left it. It hadn't run away. Satoshi hadn't run away. He'd waited patiently for me. Sorry for the wait, Satoshi. It's been a long time coming. You prepared for this? Through the metallic touch, Satoshi grins dryly. Grins at me in my mind. That's what I should be asking, you know. I did this last year already. You should be more worried about yourself. Right on, Satoshi. Let's show him a bad time. Satoshi's bat got lighter and lighter and fit into my hands like it was being absorbed. It didn't feel wrong to swing this. I could move it around so naturally it was like an extension of my own right arm. Of course, it felt like that. Satoshi and I were holding one bat together. Next, I would make the call to lure the man out. It wasn't a bad time for it. My friends were doubtlessly parading happily through the stalls, and I missed that. But this is also exciting, equally. I had considered where to make the call from. My house and Satoko's were pretty far apart. If I called from my house, I wouldn't make it. Couldn't I use the school phone? But, as I thought, the room was locked up and I couldn't get in. Shit. I'm so naive. You should have at least figured this part out. I couldn't call him. And just for that, was today all over? I'm sorry, Satoshi. And just as I cursed my own naivety, a miracle occurred. A bicycle came into the schoolyard. It was a familiar middle-aged man, the one from the Forest Service field office. Why? Wasn't today Sunday? Was he here to pick up something he forgot? Anyway, the forest officer went around back and felt around in his pocket, then unlocked the door and entered. The best possible coincidence, and it had to be Satoshi who saved me. The metal bat, through just my contact with it, told me this was a chance I couldn't allow to slip by. The sections for the forest office and the school were neatly separated. I felt the man headed into the forest office's storehouse, which is so far in the back students weren't allowed into it. The door didn't match its fitting well, so it didn't close all the way, and the gap in the door opened slowly, as if to lure me in. I took a deep breath, and went in. I guess me being low actually kind of fits the tone of right now. I tiptoed along, silently and stealthily, and made it into the teacher's lounge. That was the only place with a phone. As I held my breath in the teacher's lounge, I heard the Forest Service officer walking back over. Then the back door clattered shut and was locked. I glanced out the window at the schoolyard and watched as the man got on his bike like nothing had happened and rode out the school gate. The school once again emptied, becoming deathly silent. I waited for a bit to make sure the silence was the real deal, then reached for the telephone on the principal's desk. I fished Satoko's house phone number out of my pocket. Yes, the number in the class directory for Satoko had been the one from their house now, where she lived with her uncle. I touched the dial with my fingers, and then thought for a moment about what to say exactly when he picked up. Despite how many times I'd gotten over it in my head last night, now that I had my finger on the dial like this, it started to seep out of my mind like a cracked bucket leaking water. Simple would be best. More importantly, to say it straight and not sound suspicious. I counted off 3 heartbeats and spun the dial. The call sound. Would Satoko's uncle pick up? Now, of all times, the hope that he wouldn't pick up and the feeling of doom in the knowledge that I couldn't save Satoko if he didn't whirled around in a vortex. Hello? I forgot how he sounded. I forgot his voice. It was the voice of a grumpy man, like he'd just woken up. He picked up. Hello? Say your name so I know you'll hold you, you asshole. It would be terrible if I got it wrong. I made my mind. I had all the initiative on my side. Here we go. This is the Shishibone Okinomiya police station. Am I speaking to the Hoju residents? I was changing my voice, but did he really think I sounded like an adult? Would he believe I was the police? Oh, yes. This is Hoju. Oh, he like kind of grumpy, like a in his voice. This is Hoju. We currently have your daughter, Satoko Hoju, here with us. What? Satoko? What did that brat do? He fell for it. I could tell by how tense he was that he didn't doubt my words. I can explain the particulars once you have arrived here. Would you mind coming to the station right away? Right now? I already took a bath myself, so I don't really want to go out like this, though. What? You don't want to come because you already took a bath? Yes, right away. Right away? Ugh, man. What the heck did Satoko do? I'll explain once you're here. I'll be waiting. Thank you for your assistance.
One second. I don't know where the police station is. Where am I going?
You moron, what the hell? The Okino police station? I don't know where it is either. Aren't you from around here? Why don't you know that? A greasy sweat came over my body. Eventually, just as I was about to choke, he spoke.
Oh, next to the fire station, right? That's pretty far.
Thank goodness. He remembered on his own for me. I didn't care where the police station was, as long as he left his house to get there. Then we will be waiting here.
Oh, wait. Who am I asking for once I get in there? What is your name?
On top of that, you wanted to know my name? Just leave your goddamn house already.
Maybe she... Excuse me.
Oh, that's me. That was close. I almost thoughtlessly told him my real name. I managed to change the last syllable of it, but I put the receiver down like I was running away. My fingers were trembling, and I was soaked with a tepid sweat. I wasn't just nervous about the phone call. With that call, everything had finally been put into motion. I left the school. It was locked before, but it was easy enough to open from the inside. But I couldn't lock it again after I left. In terms of being thorough, I wanted to lock it, but I couldn't waste time going back to the teacher's lounge and looking for the key. I need to rush back as fast as I could and ambush him. I zoomed back to the scene on my bike. If Satoko's uncle had gotten out of town before I got there, everything would be over. He'd learned there was no one at the station named Meibishi, and things would get pretty messed up. As I returned at full speed, I passed a family wearing yakutas. They must have been on their way to the festival. Many people in Himizawa knew my face, though I didn't know theirs. Even just passing by them like this made me uneasy. But I didn't generally come around here, so those living in the area might not have known much about me. That didn't matter right now. I needed to get back as fast as possible to control my breathing and to ambush the man. I hid my bike in the thicket and picked up Satoshi's bat, which I'd just left hidden in the shade. And then I held my breath, waiting to see someone. I wondered if he still hadn't gotten here, or maybe he went right out after the phone call and passed by here already? I couldn't figure out which it was, and was set upon by an indescribable impatience. Calm down, Punchy Miyabara. Even if he came here already, he'd pass by here on the way back, right? The end result would be the same. It wouldn't change the fact that he'd die. He'd probably come by on his motorcycle. How would I stop him then? I figured it would be best not to think too hard and just hit him as he passed, or beat him out of his seat. The path was made of pebbles. If I'd hit him as hard as I could and he'd made him lose balance, he wouldn't be able to help falling. And then, the course of the Higurashi stopped. The sound of a bike approached from far away. I couldn't tell what sort of motorcycle it was from its sound, but I'd seen it parked before, so I'd know. It was getting rapidly closer. It was almost here. If he just went a little farther, he'd cross into that thicket and appear in front of me. I'd take a moment to make sure it was him. Then when I put my plan into action. The motorcycle appeared. A few easily identifiable characteristics told me it was Satoko's uncle's bike, without a doubt. Was it really him? Was it really Satoko's uncle? I wasn't making a mistake, was I? I looked at its characteristics again. Its color, shape, and most of all, the man's clothes. And face! Those last feelings of hesitation, I did away with them. Satoko, now your Nini will end it, okay? Closer and closer, the bike came closer. Let's go. Satoshi, Yeah. I jumped out of the thicket. I used my shoulder to basically tackle the uncle on the bike with all my might. He gave a dumb shout as his bike completely lost its balance. Finally it fell, the bike scattering clouds of sand, and after spinning it stopped. Her uncle, tossed to the ground, didn't understand what had just happened and groaned for a few moments, crouched on the ground. My breathing started to become ragged. No, I couldn't have this emotion. Some weird secretion crossed through my brain and nearly made me hallucinate. Her uncle was groaning. Now was the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What was I doing? All the sound in the world cut off. My mental chaos from a moment ago withdrew like a lie, and I could feel the temperature in my head rapidly cooling down. The tension in my muscles all went away, like the strings they'd been attached to had been cut, and I let my hands dangle at my sides. It wasn't quite like exhaustion. Have you calmed down now, Punchy Maribara? Do you need to remember again why things got to this point today? Scrape. Scrape. I stepped over the pebbled path, taking one step, another step, then another towards Toko's uncle. The more I walked, the more my breathing calmed. The more I walked, the more I felt my body cooling, calming, chilling with frost. Yes, at this moment, this guy had lost permission to live. I just rescinded it. So he mustn't stay in this world any longer. If he lived any longer, if Stoka's misfortune continued, it would be my responsibility for having allowed him to live. I could feel the cooling substances going through my whole body, even down to my capillaries. Her uncle was at my feet, still on the ground like an idiot. I smiled coldly at how ridiculous he looked. That hurt. That's all it took for it to hurt? Stoka's heart hurt much more, and now you're gonna feel that. And with your life, I'll make up for her pain. I erased all unnecessary information from my mind. I prioritized the murder of this man. Execute, execute, execute. Oh, wham! Utterly calmly, I delivered my first strike to the back of his head. I wanted to get the most effective spot. At least during that first moment, I'd have to attack him when he was at his most defenseless. And if he was hit on the head, he'd cover his head. It was a defensive reaction all humans made, like machines. He used both hands to cover his head so he couldn't pick himself up off the heap he was on the ground. Like pounding a caterpillar into the dirt, I hit him over and over. If he covered his head, I'd hit him on the side. If he covered his body, I'd go for his head. If he rolled over, I'd strike his feet, his knees, his elbows. I didn't care where anymore. By just delivering one blow after another, I induced panic in him. I retained my overwhelming advantage, but I hadn't done nearly enough to deliver a fatal wound. Eee! Her uncle skillfully pulled himself off the ground and started to run like a fleeing rabbit. It wasn't a judgment he'd made of seeing my face and deciding whether to fight me. Right now, he was fleeing by instinct, just trying to escape from the threat that had presented itself. A counterattack from the more physically capable uncle was what I was most concerned about. He may have run, but it wasn't all that unlucky, and the odds were in my favor. The uncle didn't run towards people, but off the path, into the woods. How pleasant that he would run in a direction where nobody else was. He was fleeing into strange geography, like a rat that instinctively runs to tight spots over and over. Yes, he was no longer human. He was a rat. The blood vessels in my leg expanded, and my total oxygen supply increased. I lowered myself to gain the most explosive velocity I could. Without breathing, I became a wind-like shadow, and dashed. I crossed thickets, crushing dead tree branches underfoot, and dove through the woods like a bullet. He ran so cowardly, arms flailing as he went. Catching up to him, I didn't need so much as a blink of an eye to strike him again. My senses, mind and body, were all sharpened purely to kill this man. This was the first time I'd felt like this. Well, this was the first experience I had ever had killing someone. It felt natural continuing to do this for the first time. And that meant I had this much talent for killing. Or perhaps the act of killing was so simple that anyone could do it. I didn't struggle or grow tired at all chasing the clumsily feeling uncle. No matter how much he ran, it was like trying to get away from his own shadow, and he couldn't get away from me. I could easily aim at his back and shoulder and his head, even from this unnatural stance. Each time I struck him, he wailed in pain and begged pitifully for forgiveness, but it didn't disturb my mind. I was neither excited nor plagued by hesitation like before. I felt sharp, like a carnivore. Of course, so did the uncle, who was trying to run away because he didn't want to die. He didn't want to be eaten, like a herbivore running away, or running with all its might, trying to get away. Despite all the attacks, despite all the hits, he kept on fleeing without even staggering. And despite the bad footing in the forest, he impressively never tripped over anything. But there was no need to admire that fact. It was simply proof that he was no more than an animal. If he was chased, he would run. If he was going to be killed, he would run. He bared his fangs at the weak, but couldn't oppose the strong whatsoever. He was lowly, vulgar, a diminutive animal. Such a puny little creature had harmed Satoko. Scar after scar on her body, her mind, deep wounds that might not ever go away as long as she lived.
Help.
Oh. My cold and calm emotions suddenly turned into bestial ones. My personality changed into something specialized for murder, purely to devour the diminutive animal before me. The uncle gave a puny little shriek, covered his head, and ran. I'm impressed by how much you can run. Fine, run as much as you like. I will be your death. I will choose the moment at my leisure. Your legs will hurt, your lungs will feel about to burst, your head will hurt from lack of oxygen. If you feel the pain has become worse than death, by all means, stop any time. Without turning back, suffocating on his terror of the approaching death, he just ran shamefully onward. He ran, but it was chased, and his head bashed with a metal bat, sweat and drool flying everywhere, blood clinging to him. From his mouth came sounds of the coarse, irregular breathing and high-pitched screaming that verged on crying. And pleas for forgiveness to someone, I don't know who. Each and every second was a second of atonement that I granted him. Now run. I think I got all of them. Then fall and moan and die. Where did you even crawl out of anywhere? You were never here before. If you were never here, you should have never showed up. If you never showed up, our lives would still be fun and enjoyable. We would have gone to today's festival, waited for each other, and gone to the shrine laughing. We would have been playing amongst the stalls right about now. We'd be browsing the strange food stalls you only saw at festivals, trying to get prizes from goldfish, scooping, ring throwing, or target practice. Me and Shirley would surely make it into competition, as we as a club would have a grand time. And everyone would be cheering for Rika-chan's dedication dance, and everyone would say how fun it was, and it would give us energy for days to come. Fun, enjoyable, and funny. Warm times spent with friends. And that would have happened, but it didn't, and now it was all smashed to pieces. There was no doubt that that would be what the world was like if you never showed up. You were the obstacle, the mistake, the hearsay in that world. But I would correct that mistake now. I would erase you and make it so that this last week never happened. Tonight was the Watanagashi festival, the holy night, where taking just one life was permitted in the name of Oishiro-sama's curse. It looks like the Higurashi stopped crying at some point. When the Higurashi cried, everything would end. And the Higurashi silenced. lowly one. The hour of atonement is at end. Higurashi have stopped their crying. Thus, it is the end. The end. The end. The end. You don't have to run away anymore. Die with those dirty brains of yours smashed everywhere. Oof. Well, of all the times to have to go through that part of the story, has to be when I'm not, comfy at home. I'm somewhere else. Anyway, well, it definitely got exciting today. I don't know what to Punchy. Man, I'm hoping for you, dude. Just thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.